Okay, I'm John, the flipping idiot, and this is a Heywood Wakefield dresser. I'm going to yell a little bit because I don't have a microphone for this, but I just wanted to show you that if you find a dresser with broken guides and glides on the drawers, I put together some videos about how I reproduce them, and depending on the tools you need, there are different ways to do it. I did the most obvious for this guy was a table saw and a router table, but I did it with a used table saw that I got for about 70 bucks off of Craigslist or Marketplace, and then I found a broken up router table from Rockler. So that was, I think, 35 bucks, but I have a clearance outlet near me, but it's the folding table, so well worth the investment. So let me show you what the rails and guides that I'm talking about. So you can find bargains on wooden dressers when the rail is broken, cracked, whatever. The dovetail ones where it has a triangular shape, those ones fall apart every time. I don't think I've ever seen a used dresser that had that type where there's a kind of a triangular shape on the bottom and then a triangle shape that travels over it, where the stress of that design didn't break out at least one or two of the rails in every dresser. I'm going to show you a close-up how I took some trim, maple trim, because I wanted to keep it all maple. It's maple veneer, maple blocks, maple sides, maple front, a lot, maybe too much maple in some cases. But I took a piece of maple trim on the table saw, I narrowed it, and then I cleared out most of this channel on the table saw, and then I went at it and ran it through a small router table with a straight bit to create that channel. And so that is how I solved that problem. So if you want to see how I did it, I made a couple of videos. They're someplace else, or they might be connected to this one. I'm really not that great with computers, but I am okay with maple. Okay, so here's what's going on. I need to put this screw through that rail and then get a countersunk space for that head. This bit isn't big enough for the countersinking the head part, but what it will do is it will get the shaft, this part of the screw, all the way through the rail. It doesn't need to bite into the rail. The head's going to hold it down. What I need to do is go through this part right here, and then I didn't fill the hole in there, and I can't remember if it was getting a good grip, but I might actually move this back here someplace and avoid the previous hole to make sure this isn't loose. So that is the plan. Drill all the way through with this guy, and then I'll countersink it. Okay, so here is a classic trick for doing this. That's how deep you want to go, just through that rail. If I need to, I'll make a smaller pilot hole, because this is going to make room for this thing to fall through. And what you want is something that is a little bit skinnier so that the threads can bite once it gets through the rail. Actually, I'll do it back here. I think this is the original hole, so I marked it right through the old rail, but I want to make a fresh hole. Ejecting my chip. Clearing the area so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm going to do that there, and I'm going to do it back here pretty close because the solid wood's in the back of the dresser. So I'm going to switch the bit and come back after this. Okay, so as you can see, there's the screw, and then here's a smaller bit, and you can kind of hold a solid part up, and what we want to look for is you want to be able to see the threads around the bit. So that means when you make your hole, when you put the screw in there, you're going to have, you're not going to cut out so much wood that the threads can't grab. So that was probably a bit generous on the cut, the drill down, but that's okay. So anyways, this is where all the grabbing is going to happen, is when it goes into the board down here. So I just got to put that bit into the drill and we'll be in business. Okay, so I've got my smaller bit situated and try to center it as much as possible. It's important to pull the chips out with these little bits, otherwise it can get heat or get jammed and broken. It's probably far enough. Now just got to do the back. A little tight on the back. Okay, here's what it is. So now I just need to get a larger bit or countersink and make sure I can seat that the cone of the head right in there. Create a pocket, as it were. Okay, so there are some tools I've gotten from Harbor Freight where I've been impressed with them. These countersinks, not one of them. I'm going to give it a shot. We'll see what happens. Yeah, not great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull that out, and then I'm going to find a large bit like that guy and check it against the head. Obviously this is all in real time, so you want to check and see if they match. That's a hair small. Gonna go up to the fancy Goldfinger bit and just install that guy. And try again. All right, so I'm gonna go slow, light pressure, kind of about as soon as it digs in is when it's time to stop drilling. So I need to put in probably a small Phillips bit for this guy. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some wax on those threads and run them in, because everything on this dresser is maple, and so everything's hard as a rock. Okay, so the way the old timers would do it is you get a thing of wax, and then you scrape some wax into the threads, and it provides a little bit of lubricant when you're dealing with delicate brass screws, which this is not, but I'm still going into a super hard wood. And so I have a very small Phillips bit. It's just beat to death, but it's the smallest one I have. So I'm going to use the right angle drill and just go very slowly. And then I'm going to go to manual, I guess. Shit. Okay, so I installed the screw in the back, and what I did was I spent some time off camera figuring out, because, videos have to be perfect, figuring out that this is a number 2 Phillips bit, and even though it's a very small screw, it's a number 6. So it seems a little bit larger because I'm sticking the camera. But a number 2 will seat in here, which is good, because it gives you a little bit more leverage probably, but I have a lot of number 2s, and my number 1s are kind of in short supply and beat up. So that's good news. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up some wax on the threads if I can, and then put this in here, and then using my number 2 screw, I'm going to go slowly and lock that in, and that's about perfect.